Thank you for staying tuned and moving into the streets of London. Let's bring in Juliana Olayinka to bring us up to speed with the developments there. Good morning, Juliana. I hope you had a beautiful weekend irrespective of the coronavirus fears.
Good morning, Chimase. Yes, it was a weekend inside the house.
I can imagine. Anyway, emergency legislation that would grant powers aimed at tackling the spread of the coronavirus pandemic will be debated by members of the parliament later today. Are people not complying with already put out measures? What is the current situation of things?
Well, in short, the current situation in the UK at the moment is unprecedented. I apologise in advance because I think I will be using that word every day until this coronavirus situation calms down in the UK. So far, there are 289 deaths in Britain. Following the scientists, following the experts, if you look at the trajectory, which I'm sure all our viewers have been seeing, we seem to be at least 2 weeks behind Italy. And of course, they've got nearly 6,000 deaths. That's, of course, worrying millions of people across the world. And it was quite bright over the weekend here in Britain. It was Mother's Day, and there were thousands upon thousands of people who strolled outside their homes. One of the issues they have here is that a lot of people were walking around in parks, going to beaches, going for strolls with their parents, and that has really alarmed the government. Yesterday, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, in his daily briefing, said that 2 meters apart, that all social distancing now is to that extreme. If you can't stay 2 meters apart from somebody, then you shouldn't be outside of your home. There were pictures that are going around in British media at the moment showing the UK public transport system, particularly the London Underground. And I can say, because I was a testament to this, that it was absolutely jam-packed in the London Underground, and people were asking what exactly is going on. We know at the moment only essential workers are being asked to leave their homes, but there are millions of people that are still travelling, which is why a lot of people are expecting today at the next daily briefing at 4:30 p.m. local time that Prime Minister Boris Johnson may have to put down some shutdown, lockdown measures, as we're seeing in Italy, Chimmy.
Well, I agree with you, Juliana. It's really a worrying situation, not just in the UK, but everywhere. Anyway, Primark's 189 UK stores have closed until further notice. How many more retailers will follow?
Well, there are so many. I would say to me that Primark is probably one of the last. This will affect their 37,000 staff. Primark have actually said that this will affect so many people, but they will be paying their staff their full-time contracted pay until the end of the month. But we're seeing London is practically a ghost town at the moment. Some of the biggest stores had already closed a couple of weeks ago, including Nike. Nike Town is a big kind of tourist attraction here in central London. Microsoft have closed their stores. All of the major high street retailers like H&M, Topshop, the Arcadia Group, Marks and Spencer's, Harrods, really popular luxury department store, they have closed their doors. Selfridges closed their doors last week, and really they're also being urged by the government. Friday night, Boris Johnson took the unprecedented measure of shutting down by force all pubs, bars, theatres and restaurants, and now retail stores are doing exactly the same. I was on the hunt for a coffee this morning, and I can tell you I couldn't get one. So it just shows just how seriously everybody is taking these measures. But of course, the big question mark which is looming over these closures is just how are these staff supposed to be getting paid?
Now, there are so much uncertainty as to where this coronavirus pandemic is heading to. Asian markets started the new week in the red. Bring us up to speed with London market opening numbers.
Well, as you said, you know, Asian markets, the huge sell-off going off there, also in Australia, India as well. We never really talk about the Indian markets. I know you do on your afternoon show, but India are really starting to see the full effects of this. London, no surprises. The bloodbath continues. The FTSE all-share shares were down about 4%. And just to show how bad this is, since about mid-January, the FTSE all-share has lost about 32% of its value. And now we've got these big retailers and restaurants restaurants closed. We're expecting the bloodbath to get even worse. The pound at the moment is up about 0.06% against the dollar, but still pretty low. One British pound will get you about $1.17 at the moment. And so the woes continue. There are some shares that are worth mentioning. Shell as well. Shell oil's down about 3%. Brent crude, the benchmark for oil prices, their shares are down by about 4%. And ITV is that big commercial broadcaster here in the UK. Their shares are down 15%. We are expecting some other corporate announcements during the week, but so far, not so good, Chimize.
All right, Juliana, we'll wait to get more updates from you later in the day. And it's a new trading week. How the equities market, let's see how it has started with Temple Ashaju. Hello, Temple. So what sentiment have you observed this first trading day of the week?
A very negative one. We're seeing the continued reaction to COVID-19 in the market. We see the key benchmark indices down by more than 1% now, 1.19% or thereabout, and it's been dipping all day. We've seen a lot of the counters badly hit at this point. Imagine the likes of Stanbic IBTC at 23 Naira, and of course the likes of Guarantee Trust Bank at 16 Naira 90 Kobo. We've seen Zenith Bank also falling back to the levels we saw it at about 2 weeks ago, before a lot of investors picked up the junks. It's now at 10 Naira 90 Kobo. And of course, several other counters are really falling at this point in time. The buy side of the market has really reduced. It's more of the sell side that we're seeing at this point. And for those that have even thought that their interest in Zenith Bank, last week, 2 weeks ago, will be sustained at this point, they are really selling down at this point. So it's more of sell pressure that we're seeing across the markets. However, there are some news in the system. We've got quite a number of earnings coming into the space today. Fidelity Bank numbers out. An impressive bottom line has been reported. Of course, we've also seen numbers from Ecobank Transnational Incorporated, that will be ETI, which is reporting a bottom line of $270 million. We're yet to hear what the dividends will be, but then we do hope that will be announced later. But if you look at the top line, it's not looking too good. There's a 14% decline in the top line, perhaps due to some CRR debits, from the regulatory space. And of course, Seplat has also released its earnings. Recall that last week, Seplat announced that it will be releasing its numbers this week, and we're seeing quite a number of impressive portions of the key line items. There, the bottom line, I think, is for the profit after tax is around $85 million or thereabouts, and they've declared a 5 cents in dividends to investors. If you look at the basic earnings per share, it looks quite positive as well. And of course, a couple of other counters are now releasing their numbers for investors to digest. But if you look at the overall mood in the market, it's not positive at this point in time due to coronavirus, which is ravaging markets, and that will continue to play out for the rest of the day, Chimizi.
Now, just wondering if you've spoken to any of the stockbrokers there. What are their expectations from the MPC meeting tomorrow?
They're not really talking about that, but they do know that given the stimulus packages that have been released by the central bank so far, that is something that will at least, calm the nerves of retail and local investors, institutional investors, inclusive. It's something that gives you rest of mind, helping you to understand that, okay, some funds are there. If I'm badly hit somehow in the real sector rather, I can actually go for these funds. The concern, however, is of the fact that these traders do not have access to any form of margin lending where they can actually, take some loans and then come and reinvest in the low valuations that we have in the market, because the numbers are really at low prices. Quite a number of the stocks that you found, their prices are really hitting the rocks right now. are not likely to change, for a longer time because they are currently at their support level. They may not fall lower, but these traders and dealers will actually be looking for funds to see how they can buy these junks and see how they grow, at least in speculative trading mode. Then they can take profit and move on. So that's the concerns that they have in the market, Chimezi.
All right, thank you, Temple, for updating us on those numbers. And with that, we draw the curtain on today's edition of the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimezi Obi Iwagu.